Technology is accelerating our world faster than we have the bandwidth to keep up. With delivery drones, artificial intelligence, driverless cars, and reusable rockets exiting and re-entering our atmosphere. Meanwhile, here on Earth, rapid changes to consumer behavior, technology, and data are driving business operations. And leaders know the success they seek stands on the shoulders of the technology they use. So, the question is, why are businesses still using old technology for this new world? It's time to rethink everything.
I'd just like to welcome everyone to our Nutanix Masterclass and Bootcamp. I'm Dave Allen, CEO of InfoExchange and proud Nutanix partner. We're celebrating our 25th year of business, and Nutanix has been a great part of our lives for the past 5 of them. But the real value today, in the sessions today, which will be packed full of information and indeed some hands-on learning. The first part will be about 90 minutes, where we'll be covering the Nutanix portfolio and ecosystem, just for everybody to see how it all fits together, how we deliver solutions that will address the challenges that you will face in achieving the objectives of the business. I do recognize that we have several of our Nutanix customers here today, and I want to give a big up and special welcome to you guys. To everybody else who hasn't invested in Nutanix as yet, we use a tried and proven approach, and to our customers who are here, they'll tell you that we got their Nutanix clusters configured and lit up within a week, and then the planned workload migrations happening thereafter. And the point is that we base this on an approach that we take that leverages the technology to make this happen. So migrations and platform changes don't have to be this apocalyptic event that so many people on the older legacy platforms experience. So we've worked with a diverse set of customers, with varying needs, everything from government ministries and agencies, some of you are here, to hotel chains, banks and financial institutions, and indeed one of the largest agro-processors here in Jamaica. And that was a rather interesting one, where we reduced their large number of servers in their primary data center just to a few Nutanix blocks. And I can tell you, going into their server room, you could actually hear yourself speak. And just the power savings and cooling savings delighted the CFO. So we've done everything from simple 3-node clusters in a single data center to more complex implementations with larger clusters and DR replication between a primary and DR centers. But that's enough chest thumping for now. I'd like us to really get started, and I'd like to introduce some of our rock stars that will be presenting to you today. And if you guys, if you've not done so already, could light up your cameras as I introduce you, so that our guests can meet you. First of all, I'd like to introduce our own CIO of InfoExchange, Mr. Ondel Williams. Ondel and his team have been pivotal in the Nutanix solution designs and the successful Nutanix implementations here in Jamaica. Ondel, are you there? Yes. Hi. Good morning, Ondel.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, man. Great. Next up, I'd like to also introduce Anne-Marie Walter-Allen, our Chief of Marketing, and she and her team are really the driving forces behind our brand messaging and events like these. Anne-Marie, big up.
Morning, everybody.
And of course, our dear colleague, Mr. Gustavo Sosa, cloud and virtualization expert and senior systems engineer at Nutanix. Good morning, Gustavo.
Good morning. I was told I'm here to just run the PowerPoint slides.
I tell you, no matter how crazy, busy things get, Gustavo always seems to be the calmest guy in the room. I don't know how you do it, Gus, but thanks for your calmness.
Glad to be here always.
And then El Jefe, Mr. Willie Brunn, our Nutanix Regional Sales Manager, who's really been the guiding force along our path to success. Hi, Willie, and good morning.
Good morning, David. Thank you.
Yeah, man, great. And Willie, just before I hand it over to you, I'd like to recognize and thank Nigel Pollard of our territory sales manager from our distributor, Adistech. I don't know if he can turn his camera on, but I just want to make mention that Adistech is a valued and important component of the overall team and delivery to our customers here in Jamaica. So thanks to Team Adistech as well. But I think that's it. Yes, I think that's enough on that. Willie, can I just hand it over to you here now to do a little housekeeping?
So I'm the regional manager for the English, Spanish, Caribbean, and as David mentioned, we've been very close partners with Info Exchange for over 5 years, and we have been seeing a huge change of the infrastructure life cycles that is happening in Jamaica. And partners like Info Exchange have helped us with clients that are on board with us today and are on the webinar, and with new clients who are in the process of thinking about changing from their old infrastructure to a new infrastructure, a hyper-converged infrastructure, the infrastructure of the next generation. So we're here to help you on this journey. You're not alone. We're going to help you from the inception all the way to the post-sales and the implementation. And a lot of customers were always a little bit hesitant to start with Nutanix because a lot of the same feedback we got is we're just not ready yet. We just want to give a little bit more time to see how the market fills out. Well, we're there now. We're past being ready right now. Many companies are involved in the evaluation of Nutanix right now. And it's really kind of goes back to the point of when virtualization started with VMware, which is an amazing product. I worked there for many years, and I worked with the Info Exchange team when I was there. And it's not really, when it was a question of virtualization, it wasn't really a question of if you were going to do it, if you were going to virtualize. It was basically a question of when. When are you going to virtualize and come into the new world of virtualization and much more efficient way of managing your data center? And today we've been at that point with Nutanix for the last couple of years of our customers questioning if they're going to do it, and it's not really if, it's when you're going to move into a new next generation type of infrastructure. And that's what we're going to present today. Some of our case studies, some of our really important customers are going to share some of their video testimonials with you of why they chose Nutanix and why they're going to continue with Nutanix post-sales. Most importantly, about our support organization. We're very proud of it, and we'll talk to you a little bit more about it in the presentation.
Businesses are facing a crisis. IT solutions are complex with lots of interdependent parts. The challenge is how to select and integrate the right technology in a changing environment and a shrinking budget. To truly solve problems, not simply mask the symptoms. Info Exchange can show you how. For over 25 years, we've aligned IT and business goals, driving innovation and efficiency at scale. Take your company to the next level by making the right technology decisions. With Info Exchange, you can do more with less. Let's get started.
A full-scale revolution is happening in enterprise data centers. They are being transformed from impossibly complex and unbearably costly to radically simple. And leading the charge is Nutanix. When SAN and NAS storage were first introduced to data centers more than a decade ago, IT administrators' jobs were simplified. Unfortunately, SAN and NAS storage infrastructures weren't built with virtualization in mind. As a result, IT administrators struggled with bottlenecks, complexity, and costs of legacy storage networks. There is a better way, the Nutanix Complete Cluster. The Nutanix solution is a data center appliance, which is a building block for new virtual data centers. Taking a page from the cloud computing playbooks of Google, Amazon, and Facebook, the Nutanix architecture is a distributed system built to be massively scalable. In fact, many of our engineers designed and built the infrastructures of the big cloud and web companies. Nutanix converges storage and compute into a single unified 2U appliance, allowing virtual machines to get access to pooled storage resources throughout a cluster. No more managing storage separately from servers. A single Nutanix appliance replaces entire racks worth of legacy equipment. The result is a radical reduction in costs and an amazingly easy system to deploy and manage. Scaling the data center for new VMs and workloads now takes minutes instead of days or weeks. Data center architects and business owners alike can count on the fastest possible performance for their virtualized applications, whether it is 10 virtual workloads or 10,000. This data center is not a vision. The next generation data center is here today and is being built by demanding organizations across the globe with Nutanix. Isn't it time your data center joined the revolution? Radically simple, massively scalable data centers from Nutanix.
We started Nutanix because of too many servers to manage, a bloated server room, and underutilization of the servers that we're implementing. How can I utilize my servers better in a more efficient manner? So I heard about Hyper Convergence, did some research. So we look at a bunch of vendors, did quite a bit of research, and we narrowed it down to Nutanix. They had the best package of products in the Hyper Convergence, and they had, to me, the far better support and footprint at that time. And of course, the most important part, we had local support on the ground in Jamaica. So we decided to go with Nutanix because of that, for those reasons. How do I shrink down my server room to the point where I can simply utilize Hyper Convergence in a way that I save energy, save on space, and optimize and utilize the power of my server. So we already utilize the server at its maximum capacity. So that was a waste. But the big question was, why Nutanix? As I said earlier, Nutanix offered me the best package of support, on the ground support, and also package of products and interaction. The implementation was very straightforward. We got Infra Exchange in, and Infra Exchange got some guy from overseas who done connects, and it was a breeze. We spec'd out a cluster-based setup so that servers were on different physical audio components of Nutanix, and a lot of stuff that we utilized. The fast servers that we wanted to run really quick, we add those on flash storage, so those are really quick. And we also were able to, with VMware, move around some of the servers as we so see fit based on the current situations that may arise from time to time. We all know in IT, things happen, things break, you have to move around. Nutanix with VMware allows to do this wonderfully. And also, Nutanix also has its own thing. If we weren't doing anything and something breaks, it automatically moves over. I would tell you of a situation where we had a problem and we didn't know. We came one day, one morning, back at the office and realized some of the servers are down. I realized, what is happening? We checked the Nutanix box. Nutanix had one of the boxes had a small issue, and it turned out to be a firmware problem. It actually moved the stuff over to one of the boxes and moved all the servers over. The servers weren't actually down, they're just moving a lot slower. But everybody could actually still work. Even one of the Nutanix box was actually offline, one of the nodes. And it did everything for us. And we're like, whoa, it took care of everything. And at COJ, we don't have the biggest IT department. We do not. But with that level of, health checks that it does, it saved me a lot of time and effort to go about finding people to do this. Yeah, it did it all for me. I have a problem with Nutanix, it's like you install it, you forget it. It is to the point for us, nodes-wise, that we don't really worry about it because we put rebalancing and automatic balancing, so it moves around wherever we see fit. We can create a machine just like that. We can uninstall it. We are now able to set up development environments for my developers to do stuff. I can then drop and move stuff around. I can take a node offline, do work on that node, bring back a node online. All that is a simple, straightforward, no problem at all. Savings from Nutanix. What are some of the savings? All I know, we have saved on power, we have saved on size, because we had a massive 220 feed going into our server room. We still do, but our 220 feed has cut down significantly. I'm a big, I don't know bigs I can say, but I'm a big Nutanix believer. I tell you how big it is. Shortly, we run a massive AIX setup here with Oracle and a bunch of other stuff to facilitate our mission critical applications and systems. And we're about to move over those AIX. As AIX and running Nutanix, we are going to move to Nutanix and those shortly. Because some of the hardware that we're using for the IBM, the Power PCs, some of them are about to do end of life, and we're about to shift to Nutanix. So once again, so with that, I'm going to shift down to 2 racks when I'm done. I'm having a network rack, and I'm having I can now rename it a Nutanix rack. So that will make my life easier, and I'm sure I'm going to save on power. Would I recommend Info Exchange and Nutanix going forward? Hell yes. For those who are thinking about Hyper Convergence, you want to look at Nutanix first. The support is unbelievable. The health checks that they do on the system is unbelievable. It checks all the time. I tell you what is happening, I tell you what it's going to do, and it goes and finds something that's happening, and I need to do these things. I would recommend Nutanix for each and every one who would like to use this product, go ahead. Everything that I need, it is fulfilling 100%. And Info Exchange is like a peas in a pod, like white and rice. Whenever I call and have a problem for anything, Info Exchange with David Undell is my first line of contact. I've only good things to say about Info Exchange. A partnership going back 20 years, about 20 years, isn't a partnership that they take lightly.
Now we have an interesting challenge here with the time, right? There's a lot of content. We have great topics to cover today. For all of you who joined us the last time and the previous session, I'm gonna do a quick recap. I know it's gonna sound repetitive maybe, but I really want to just take a few minutes to recap what we covered last time. In addition to that, as soon as we are done, we will definitely cover new topics. Especially, we will focus today on our portfolio products. As you remember, Nutanix is a platform. That's what we've been talking about for a while. Nutanix is not a box. Nutanix is not a server. Nutanix is not a little application that you install somewhere. Nutanix is a true platform. So today we are going to focus on what else is in that platform. We spent hours last time talking about why hyperconvergence and why this technology came to change the whole world. The whole industry was shaken by this concept that we invented back in 2011. So it's been 10 years since then. And although we are challenged with time today, I have a little agenda that I'll do my best to follow. And it's a lot of content, great topics, but this is what we plan to touch on today. So I'm gonna start with a recap. As I said, a little bit of what we covered the last time. I will remind you what the Nutanix platform is about, which is very important, of course. And then we will jump into some of the favorite products, portfolio products in our technology platform. These are not all the products we have several, but we picked what we believe are the favorite ones for all organizations, especially organizations like you. So across all sectors, government, financial, private, manufacturing, whatever your sector is, we believe these are the products in our portfolio that will bring you the best value. So we'll have a little short presentation on each one of them. I'm going to move very fast, because again, we have a lot of content, but please, that doesn't mean you have to just stay shy and be quiet because I'm talking too fast. Stop me. The best thing you can do for us right now is to make this interactive. The last time we spoke together, we had a great session because of the questions that were brought up during the presentation. So please, I don't mind if we are running behind. I know Anne-Marie is going to disagree with me. I do not care about running late. Let's make this interactive. Let's ask questions, and please, that is the best value to this presentation. So some of the products we are covering today, PRISM Pro. We are gonna talk a little bit about storage services in our platform, 3 of them in particular: files, objects, and volumes. Willie is gonna send a quiz. If anyone doesn't answer every single question correctly, will not get an Amazon card. That's obviously just a joke, right? But we'll have a lot of names here to remember: Calm, Era, Flow, XI Frame, and then at the end we'll have some Q&A. And after that, we'll move on to another fun section, right? We will stop the PowerPoint at this point, when we close the presentation, and then we'll move on to hands-on bootcamp. We'll have a few minutes in between, a quick break, just to stretch our legs, and then we'll move on to hands-on. We have labs, we have clusters reserved for the people who registered for the hands-on experience. Having said that, again, use the chat window. My friends at Info Exchange and Nutanix, of course, they are all helping me with controlling the chat. I'm not going to be looking at the chat window during the presentation, but please interrupt me, Willie and team, if I need to just stop and answer any questions in the chat. So as a recap, we started last time with, in fact, I picked a couple of phrases or words from the video that we played in the beginning. That video has a lot of great points. One of them is, why are companies doing the same? Why are they still working with old technology that brought us here, thinking it will get us to the next level? That simply is not going to happen, right? I mean, technology changed, the world changed, and last time we talked about what companies need and what workloads need. So that was a question we brought up. I think it's important to remember that modern applications have different needs than before. It's no longer just a little server where you install a software. Now you have containers, you have segmentation, you have security, you have a lot of different needs that modern applications require. And here we are as that platform that provide all those services. The answer to what the modern applications need is services. There's so many different services: networking, microsegmentation, security, storage, different types of storage. It's not one storage anymore. Now it's files, block storage, object storage, to make things complicated. The good news is one single platform can give you all those services now. That's just to remind you a little bit about the why we are here, right? We also talked about hyperconvergence, right? How was this created? Remember how we talked about the 3-tier model that we all know we have all been operating for so many years, right? With the SAN and storage controllers and fiber channel switches, the compute, all the servers separate from each other. Every single layer in this model has totally separated, creates bottlenecks and creates silos, different consoles and different points of vulnerability and different points of failure sometimes, right? And we also showed you how we converted or transformed that 3-tier legacy or traditional model, whatever you want to call it, into something more simplified. Again, one single platform, which is integrating storage, compute, networking, virtualization into a single, I keep calling it Lego, a single set of Lego blocks, just one block over another, nodes, which is the correct way to call them, with virtualization included, totally agnostic to hypervisors and hardware. At the end of the day, one platform, one set of nodes or Lego blocks, as I call them, with any virtualization on it, totally invisible to the IT administrators, so they can focus on what really matters, which is your applications. That is the concept of hyperconvergence that we created 10 years ago, and we continue to lead this market today, thanks to you, all of you who are investing and modernizing your data centers nowadays. The whole purpose of this platform, we also touched on this last time, is to create one place for you to run every single workload. It doesn't matter how critical or non-critical it is, or how production versus dev it is, how mission IO intensive versus compute intensive it is. Now it's one platform to serve all those applications for you. We also touched on how this technology includes DR, built-in DR and replication. That is very important, right? I mean, I can give you the best platform for your applications, but if I don't protect it somehow, that will be incomplete. So we have built-in data protection, replication to remote sites, to public cloud, basically anywhere to anywhere. Nowadays, Nutanix runs anywhere, in the public cloud, in your data center, private cloud, edge or remote office, branch office. All those locations could be covered by Nutanix, centrally managed, replicated to anywhere, managed by a centralized console, and with data protection, backup included, and of course supported also by any third-party backup vendor of your choice. All those are the features that we've been talking about. I also want to remind you that we are today the only platform that allows you to do cross-hypervisor replication. So if any of our customers decides they need to keep an old hypervisor in the main site for some reasons, but they would like to use our virtualization hypervisor in the DR side to reduce costs, we allow you to do that in a very native way without third-party tools at all. That's my quick recap. Again, of course, if there's any questions, I'm pretty sure most of you remember these concepts. But again, if there's any questions here or comments around what we covered last time, please feel free to raise your hand or to post a comment in the chat window. I'm gonna pause here for a second in case there's anything there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Question. When you say near sync from site to site, what's the average
RPO?
Yeah.
Yep, that's an amazing question. So if I normally answer all the questions, but I try to involve other people in the team. So Andel, if you're there, you want to answer that, or you want me to?
I know. Well, async is typically between five and up, right? 5 and up minutes.
Yes.
The near sync. No, explain that.
Absolutely. Andel, you want to take that one, or do you want me to?
Okay, I can start, Gustavo. You have 3 different replication mechanisms within the Nutanix platform. One is just pure async, and that has an RPO of 1 hour. Then you have near sync, and surprisingly, you spoke about 5 minutes, but it's actually much lower than that. This is actually down to 1 minute. And then you have real-time synchronization, meaning that you have a situation where you write to the primary and then you write to DR, and that is when it is acknowledged, and that is actually 0 RPO. So synchronous replication. So you have all 3 different types of replication within the Nutanix platform. And of course, you have instantaneous backup and recovery built in within the platform. So backup and recovery, disaster recovery, all covered within the platform.
That is correct, Andel. Thank you very much. And yes, the answer is we can go anywhere from 0 to any RPO you want, right? The price to pay, I'm talking about the technical price to pay, is if you want sync, as Andel said, well, that the only way to achieve true 0 RPOs is to write data to two different locations, right? We have that, again, natively built into the platform. Whether you choose sync, near sync, or async, all those mechanisms are included in the Nutanix platform from day one. Of course, it's good to know which one you want so we can give you the correct license tier, but it's all built in, no third-party tools at all. Everything is there.
How well does that play with the networking environment or networking layer? Does it compensate or it adapt to changes in the network speed?
That's a good question too. Thank you for that one. I love it because you just got it right there. DR and failover and replication. In those situations, the #1 challenge is networking. I agree with you 100%. You know, yes, I can bring a machine, and I've seen that in so many companies. They tell me, I have replication, I have my data somewhere else in the other side of the country. I'm like, okay, turn it on, show me. oh, well, but the data is there. Yeah, the data is there, but I want you to use it, right? That's when the problems start. If the machine is a different subnet, different VLAN, which is typically the case, right? Maybe that machine has to change IP addresses and some DNS tables need to be updated. Great news again, we have full DR orchestration. We call it Nutanix Leap. Nutanix Leap is our DR runbook orchestration tool that allows you to say what you want to happen in a failover situation. I want machines 1 through 5 to power on first, but I want machine number 12 to power on right after because there's a dependency. By the way, change these IPs from subnet X to subnet Y. And I also want VLANs to be mapped from VLAN 1 to VLAN 10. All those things that need to happen in the DR situation can be orchestrated and automated in Nutanix, again, natively in the tool, and it's called Nutanix Leap. It's one of our functionalities in the advanced DR replication functionalities we have.
And to further add to that, Gustavo, when it comes to networking, usually, back here in the third world, our connections aren't that great. So we suffer from latency, we suffer from packet loss, we suffer from jitter. And one of the greatest things that we discovered about 7 years ago is a change in networking technology, where you had wide area network technologies actually moving to become software defined. And with that, if you employ the right technologies, you can actually mitigate latency effect, the packet loss effect, and any other variations on the network link. So with SD-WAN, we have a situation where DR site is in Jamaica. Primary site is in Jamaica. DR site is in the eastern side of the US. That's thousands of miles away. And we are achieving RPOs, which are, around a minute. For some customers, we are actually achieving RPOs that are actually less than 10 seconds. So if you have the right technologies, then you can actually mitigate and deliver on the RPO and RTO targets that you have for your business. So give Info Exchange a call. We know how to do it.
I like how you close that one. That's definitely right. With the right technologies, you can do anything, right? For so many years, we've had some technologies that did a little bit, but we were not there. That's the great news is it is all here now. You need to choose the right partners and the right technologies. And yes, you can orchestrate it all. I always call it the one button failover dream. I want to move my entire company. I don't care if I run 10 servers or 10,000 servers. I want to press one button and move my entire operation somewhere else. That somewhere else could be maybe someplace in Jamaica or maybe someplace in another country, maybe public cloud. That should be a dream come true where I can push a button and move my entire operation somewhere else where my users can launch the virtual desktops there and company runs business as usual. That is true today with the RPO you want to have, and we have the tools to do that. And SD-WAN, as Andel said, is a nice companion to these technologies, which makes all the links a lot better. Did we answer your question? Those were great questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, man, thank you.
Good, perfect. So moving forward, I started this conversation today saying we are focusing on the Nutanix portfolio products, right? So as a refresher, this is all we have in the portfolio. We have different products. If you have any, if you're curious about any of the names here that I don't really get into details about, please, again, feel free to ask. As you know, as I showed you in the agenda, I'm going to focus on some of them, such as PRISM, files, and so many of them. Not all of them, of course. So here's the portfolio products. And by the way, we can share some of the slides that I'm using here today with you in PDF format. If you want to have that, as a reminder later, we can have that. We can send that to you as well. So let's focus on some portfolio products here. PRISM, my favorite component in the Nutanix platform. Why? Because PRISM is where everything happens. PRISM is our central command center, right? PRISM is what replaced all those legacy tools. Remember, I will continue referring to it as legacy because that's what it is. Legacy, traditional IT, whatever you want to call it. Remember how we used to operate data centers, right? With storage consoles, another command line console for fabric switches, another console for virtualization, and different ones for all my hardware components. And the number of monitoring and management tools was continuously increasing, different licensing model, different tools. We consolidated all that into a single web interface. PRISM is almost magical. I love PRISM. It's so simplified that a lot of IT experts tell me, is this it? I mean, just a couple of clicks and I did what used to take me so many different operations. And I say, yes, that's it. It is that simple, right? And today we will touch on this a little bit more, so I'm not going to waste time showing you screenshots. We have different editions of PRISM, right? We according to your needs, we could have PRISM Starter. I keep calling them small, medium, large, but we have what what Nutanix officially calls a Starter Pro. And now we have Ultimate, a third version of it, which adds application monitoring. I think there's some echo. Can you guys hear me okay? All right. I heard some echo at some point. So PRISM Ultimate, we now added application monitoring. So if you want to have a central place, not only to manage your entire infrastructure, but also look at the application level, maybe SQL Server, that's where we started. We have so many SQL Server environments running on Nutanix around the world that we decided to give you some extra functionality. So now we can monitor SQL Server at the application level. I'm talking about getting to the queries, looking at queries and telling you which queries are slow and not performing right. Because many times the problem is not your infrastructure, the problem is the application itself, right? So in PRISM Ultimate, we added application monitoring. We can also monitor non-Nutanix, non-Acropolis environments, such as VMware vSphere, for example. So that's a third edition of PRISM that is available to you. But typically, especially today, I focus on PRISM Pro. PRISM Pro, the main differences are here on the screen. So PRISM Starter, of course, it's still the central point of command where you can manage everything, virtual machines, servers, storage, anything in your hyper-converged infrastructure. But in addition to that, PRISM Pro brings so many new functionalities like capacity planning, one of my favorite ones, right? Capacity planning is amazing because you want to be able to plan accordingly. You want to know how much you will need to grow next year or 2 years from now. Typically, we just guess, right? We try to say, well, I think I need X amount, or even worse, we've been trained or taught to overbuy, buy more than I need just to be safe because I don't know what's going to happen. The good news is you don't need to do that anymore. I mean, there's capacity planning tools built into the platform that you can use to analyze your behaviors and tell you exactly if you are ready or not for that new project, that new company acquisition, whatever is happening in your organization. We can help you with capacity planning for your infrastructure. In addition to that, we have a lot of other features. I'm not going to mention each one of them, but anomaly detection. In other words, to me, PRISM Pro is a great automated version of your traditional operations. That's my quick summary of it. If you want to automate operations, if you want software to intelligently make decisions on your behalf about remediate a machine that is starving for resources, or isolate a machine that is bullying other VMs, because that happens too, or even better, help you remediate over-provisioned VMs. That happens more often than not. We typically, virtual administrators, we want to give a lot of resources just for people to leave me alone. But the reality is I'm always wasting resources. So these tools will allow you to detect and report on over-provisioned machines, and even remediate by saying, do you want me to fix it? Do you want me to cut the memory in half? I can do it for you. All you have to do is tell me yes, right? And the software will do that for you. If you want to hot add, hot remove resources, we can do so as well. So again, PRISM Pro is a nice console or advanced version of our management console that provides intelligent operations and automation for your day-to-day IT management. That is PRISM Pro, and again, we will touch on that a little bit more during the hands-on session today. Any comments here? I think,
Yes,
please.
there was a question here.
Mhm.
Can Nutanix integrate with existing VMware platform that have a secondary replication site?
So that's another one of my favorites. First of all, because that's how I came to Nutanix as a customer. Back in 2013, I was managing a large VMware environment, and when I bought my first Nutanix, my first question was, how do I integrate this? I have close to 3,000 VMs under my responsibility, right? So it's a big environment, 3 data centers, 3,000 VMs replicating between them. So when I bought my first Nutanix box, I said, how do I coexist, right? Yes, a Nutanix cluster could be installed with any hypervisor of your choice. So if you need your Nutanix cluster to have VMware on it because that's your choice, or because maybe you are not ready to switch hypervisors, by the way, I strongly recommend you look into migrating workloads to Acropolis hypervisor, because it will save you a fortune. You no longer have to pay for virtualization anymore, since it's included in our technology at no cost to you. But if you decide to use VMware and incur into those VMware licensing costs, we can put VMware on our Nutanix cluster. That will give you the whole all-in-one data center experience with VMware on it. And we can add that VMware cluster to your existing vCenter instance. So you can manage the new Nutanix and your old ESX hosts from the same vCenter console. That's one way to do it. Or if you have VMware today in production and you don't need extra capacity in production, you can put the new Nutanix cluster in a DR site. In that case, you can also put VMware on it, and then you can use any of your favorite VMware tools to replicate from production to DR. You can use Site Recovery Manager, for example, extremely complicated tool, but it's a VMware native tool, right? So you can use that one to replicate from production to DR, VMware to VMware, even though this is not Nutanix and this one is Nutanix. You can do so. In that case, it would be done at the VMware level, because you only have Nutanix on one side. If you want to leverage all the power of native built-in replication that I mentioned before, the ideal scenario would be for you to have Nutanix and Nutanix. It doesn't matter if VMware is here and Acropolis is here. As long as you have Nutanix on both sides or Nutanix to public cloud, we can manage it all. But if you don't have Nutanix in production and you want to start your Nutanix journey in the DR site, you can do so as well. Yes. And again, I would do it using VMware tools like such as Site Recovery Manager or any other. I mean, there's Zerto, there's so many tools, Veeam, that can help you replicate VMware to VMware, regardless of Nutanix being in one of those sites or not. Hope I answered that question. So why intelligent operations matter? I mean, this is of course our summary of reasons for PRISM Pro, right? Why do I want?
Question before you continue.
Yes.
PRISM Pro, that's web-based.
Absolutely. Well, our console has always been HTML5 web-based. We have 0 clients, 0 Java and all that old stuff. It's all HTML5, mobile friendly. It's just one console.
And that one PRISM, that one console that can do management, reporting, alerts, everything.
Yeah. And I can manage from this same console. I can manage any hypervisor, right? It doesn't matter if you decided to use Acropolis. Acropolis is our hypervisor. I'm not sure if you were in the previous session, but Acropolis is our hypervisor. We have a KVM powered hypervisor, again, included at no cost in the platform, which is in terms of adoption rates, we are above 60% worldwide. So it's amazing, the adoption rate. So Acropolis is there included at no cost. And of course, you manage Acropolis, which is a modern hypervisor, simplified, designed for hyperconvergence. But if for some reason you decide to use a legacy hypervisor, such as Hyper-V or VMware, or any of, even Zen from Citrix, if you want to manage that one, that's fine. We will manage that for you from PRISM as well. So you can still use PRISM to create VMs. I don't care if you're using VMware or using Hyper-V. We manage it all from your PRISM console. A lot of our customers are managing multi hypervisor clusters. So you can see in PRISM, cluster 1, VMware, cluster 2, Acropolis, cluster 3, Hyper-V, have them all in one single console and still perform operations across all of them, including patching the hypervisor. it is ironic because we were the first technology to bring to the market one-click hypervisor patching that not even the creators of the hypervisor itself were able to do. We do one-click hypervisor patching for VMware or Microsoft, even though when they were not able to do it. I don't know if they are able to do it now, maybe they are, but we created these kind of things for any hypervisor, not only for us. So yes, one place.
That was my next question. Acropolis. That's Nutanix. I like the way you say legacy hypervisors.
And by the way, full disclosure, I've been a VMware fan for over 15 years. I have almost all the VMware certifications that are out there. I've been working with VMware all my life. That's when I started my career in virtualization. I love it as a product, but things have changed. So there's different ways and cheaper ways to do virtualization nowadays. I think it's becoming a commodity. That's a reality. Thank you for that. Any other comments here? Good. So I'm going to move on to other products. Again, I have, of course, a lot of slides on PRISM Pro, but one feature that I want to not forget is the ability for a PRISM Pro to do if-then scenarios. I love this because if-then is a real powerful tool for you. We call them playbooks. We can create a playbook where you decide what's going to happen when something happens, right? If could be a machine runs out of resources or something abnormal is happening in my cluster. When that happens, like a bottleneck, an anomaly, or something slow, whatever, then I want Nutanix to post a message in my Microsoft Teams IT operations group. I want Nutanix to send an email. I want Nutanix to integrate with my help desk tool, such as ServiceNow or whichever help desk tool you have, and open a ticket automatically. That level of integration is what makes this technology super powerful. It's all done through APIs. So we can open tickets, close tickets, send emails, post a message in Slack, WhatsApp, Telegram, Teams, whatever you like, any collaboration platform you use, we can integrate with those, assuming, of course, there's an API, and then make your life a lot easier. So there's a lot of cases where we can talk about, how to use PRISM Pro. We will cover more later during the hands-on session. All right. I want to move on to storage services. Storage services is a very important key component of our platform because we started with one storage service in the beginning. When you create your, let's say 10 years ago, when we released our first Nutanix Hyper Converged cluster, we were focusing on providing storage services for virtual machines only. That's what we call VM services, right? VM services are, as the name says, a storage service just to store VMDKs in the VMware world or different disk format in a different hypervisor world. At the end of the day, a VM service is just that, it's a place to store virtual disks. But then we realized we created such a powerful file system that we decided to expand it with other storage services. I started this presentation today reminding you that workloads have different needs. Now development teams are talking about containers. Containers are object storage. It's different than anything before, right? It's not file storage, it's not block storage, it's not virtual storage, it's containers, objects. Objects are a different structure. So there's file services, of course. A lot of people, all of us in this call, we use file servers one way or another, right? For personal use, I may like, OneDrive, Dropbox, something like that. But if enterprise use, companies are switching from the traditional file servers to more robust file servers because a simple Windows machine sharing a bunch of folders is not enough anymore. And most of us in this call, I'm pretty sure we still have those legacy Windows servers sharing folders. Do they work? Absolutely, yes. Do they provide the services and the permissions I need for my users? Absolutely, yes. Does it give me any visibility into the data that is in there? Absolutely not. There's zero visibility into your data. Think about your file server. All you know today is how much storage you are using in it. That's it. That's all you know. We don't know anything else. It doesn't provide any intelligence at all. It doesn't even tell me what's happening in it. All it knows, it's a Windows machine with certain level of utilization. That's it. What if your file server was different? What if your file server was able to provide you with additional functionalities and data about your data. That's what Nutanix Files is, and that's our file services offering. In addition to that, we now have object-based storage called Nutanix Objects. Nutanix Objects is, as the name says, object-based storage used in more modern applications like containers, Kubernetes. Perfect use case for backups. If you have a backup tool that supports object-based storage, guess what? You are now automatically protected against ransomware. All of us are concerned about ransomware today. I promise you that. The problem is almost none of us are ready to be protected against it. Great news, Nutanix gives you protection against ransomware and cyber attacks at many different levels. One of those levels is, again, Nutanix Objects, because we give you a place to store your backups that is anti-corruption by design. Not even an administrator could overwrite or delete object-based storage. So that's a little bit about objects. Again, there's a lot more to talk about it, but just for you to know, we have all those file services or storage services here. VM disk storage, file services, object-based, and of course, we cannot leave that one, the last one alone, right? Block storage. Block storage is traditional, LUN type storage, iSCSI storage. If you have any old server there, physical machines or physical cluster that still needs some storage because it cannot be virtualized for some reason, we can give you the storage for that. In other words, you can use us, our Nutanix cluster, you can use it as a SAN. For those specific workloads that cannot be virtualized on Nutanix, use us as a SAN. We will give you the storage you need, publish it using a standard iSCSI protocol, and let you solve that problem with one single platform. Of course, the benefit of that is still highly available storage, highly performing storage that could be replicated and protected. So regardless of your specific use case, again, VM services, file services, object, or block, it's all in one single platform today. All right. Any comments here? Of course,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
under block services. I see you have all these databases, applications, and instances. I'm not seeing Exchange. Is there a reason why?
No, the only reason is I ran out of space in that PowerPoint. But of course, any Microsoft cluster with Exchange is a perfect use case for block storage, by the way. I believe I have it in this one. No, also not on this one. No, but Nutanix Volumes is our solution to provide a block storage to any workload in or out of Nutanix. Remember that. So in this diagram that I have on the screen, I have your Nutanix cluster here, right? X number of nodes, 1, 2, 3 nodes running, X number of VMs, right? You have your VMs running there. You have X number of nodes and VMs. Your virtual platform runs on Nutanix and it's happy. But as I said earlier, you also have some server or servers outside of Nutanix, or maybe inside. It could be virtual too, but it doesn't matter. But maybe you have those servers requiring that storage, that block level storage. iSCSI is my best example. We can still publish that storage. Any Microsoft cluster is a great example. Exchange clusters, as you said, that's an amazing example. In fact, right now we are working with a very large bank. I'm not allowed to disclose, but a huge bank in the Caribbean who decided to purchase 6 Nutanix clusters, not blocks, clusters, to distribute in different islands. And this bank wants, the main use case is Exchange, because they want to keep Exchange on premise. They don't want to go 365. They have a huge Exchange environment. They chose Nutanix over any other technology, and they will leverage Nutanix Volumes to provide storage to their Exchange clusters. So absolutely, yes, SQL Server, Oracle, SAP, any clustered application that requires a block storage is a good candidate to use Nutanix Volumes. All right. So in terms of file storage, I already mentioned 3 services or 4 services actually. I'm sorry, I said file storage. I should have said storage services, right? But it's important to mention some advantages of these, right? I mentioned files. Files is one of my favorites, like I said, because we all use file servers one way or another. So File servers could be as simple or as complex as you want, but the true definition of a Nutanix file server is, first of all, you don't have that Windows layer underneath. You don't have that dependency on Windows. You don't have the Windows limitations. You don't have to use that Windows license at all. You have running a file server natively on top of the Nutanix file system, which makes it highly available, distributed, and highly scalable. So it can scale up to billions or petabytes of data if you want. You can start as small as you want with a few gigs and go up to petabytes if you want. Thousands of users doesn't really matter. This is a distributed technology, remember that. So leveraging the Nutanix file system at the bottom, running your file server on all those Nutanix nodes makes your file server extremely scalable. So again, there's no need to run this on a VM anymore. No need to have that Windows dependency anymore. That is a thing of the past. But the biggest win, once you move your file server to Nutanix files, and by the way, every single Nutanix customer can turn on Nutanix files at no cost up to certain limits, but that is included there at no cost. So anyone can use it. The biggest advantage is analytics. That's my number one reason. To me, this single console that I'm showing on the screen here, that's reason enough to go to files. There's no way I would go to a legacy file server once I know I could know more about my data. Things like file age, file type categorization, who owns my data, who is accessing my data, auditing for compliance and security reasons. Auditing is amazing, right? I want to make sure I have, I know who's doing what, who's trying to access my files, who's reading X privileged files, who is attempting too many times to access forbidden files or folders. That one is important. Whether you want to be proactive and trying to understand why Gustavo decided to delete 300 files in just a few minutes, that's not a normal behavior of this user. What is going on? Detecting abnormal behaviors versus traditional behaviors is a task that Files does very well, including detecting ransomware. So ransomware, of course, is an abnormal behavior. Something is overwriting a lot of files very fast and encrypting them or renaming the files. That's abnormal behavior. Files automatically detects, knows when a ransomware attack is happening and stops it right away. And of course, alerts you. Well, if it is a little bit too late and you got some files encrypted, Time Machine is there to save you. We have Time Machine in Nutanix for any VM or any file in your file server. So if you have files and you got attacked, and in fact, the ransomware attack was able to encrypt files, we can roll back in time to any point you want. Problem solved. So instead of paying fortunes to the ransomware hackers or trying to spend hours or days restoring from old backups and finding out that those backups do not even work well, because I've seen so many stories recently where they try to go to backup after a ransomware attack just to learn that the backups were not available, were corrupted. Maybe the backup target itself was corrupted. That's when you would use Nutanix objects as a backup repository to at least guarantee that no one, not even ransomware, could alter or delete or overwrite your backups. I've seen in many cases with that some IT departments store backups on a share, on a zip share or an NFS share. I'm not saying it is a mistake, but it is not the ideal practice, because if a ransomware attack gets a hold of your admin credentials, it automatically has access to that share and, of course, to encrypt and overwrite your backups. You compare that to object-based storage, which by nature and by design has retention policies built into the file system. And it's not us, it's the file system itself that allows you to say anything written to this object storage repository, object storage container, has to be there for 5 years. That's my retention policy. At that point, the file system will not allow anyone, not even the administrators with proper credentials, to overwrite or delete anything earlier than 5 years. So it's natively built into the file system. That's amazing for compliance cases, compliance reasons, of course, legal regulations in the finance sector and legal, of course, right? So again, going back to files, I was deviating a little bit on the objects side of things, but Files gives you intelligence and data about your data. So file size, file types. Why is the finance department asking me for more storage, or they are denying budget for me to invest in more Nutanix infrastructure, where they are the ones who are consuming most capacity in my file servers. Things like that could help you even justify your investments, or understand who's storing forbidden files. If you want to not allow certain file types, like an MP3, for example, you can do so as well. So there's a lot of intelligence built into files, of course.
What about duplicate files, deduplication?
Of course. Or anything you think about around file analysis can be done with files. Detecting duplicates, finding duplicates, deduplicating that storage. Do you want me to just deduplicate it to optimize the storage, or do you want me to actually get rid of the duplicates? Those are two things you can do with files, of course, or just get reports, which happens a lot, right? I mean, the same attachment gets saved into so many different locations by so many different users. So having that duplicate file report is very, very powerful. And again, even if you don't want to delete them, but you just want to deduplicate at the file system level, we do it natively, of course. In Nutanix, we have compression and deduplication at the file system level, of course. Any other comments here? Good. So just a quick time check. How are we doing on time, Anne-Marie?
I think you have about a half an hour before Q&A.
Perfect. So I have half an hour.
On the earlier schedule.
I have a lot of content to cover, trust me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. So files with intelligence, analytics, and file auditing, to me, just the auditing itself is reason enough, right? But the analytics is a real power on it. I talked about objects already. I don't think I have to stop here for too long, because I already covered objects during the presentation. So use cases for object storage. The reason why I stop here too is because it's the less common storage type. A lot of organizations are not ready or do not have the need for object-based storage yet. So again, my number one use case for you, and by the way, objects is also included with any Nutanix license for every single one of our customers. Anyone wanting to play with object storage is already there for you, up to certain limits, of course. Backups is my number one case. If you have a modern backup tool that supports objects, Haiku is one of my favorite backup tools for this modern technology. Veeam, I know Veeam can, I don't think Veeam can write natively to object, but it could archive to object storage, which is like S3 type storage. NetBackup, I believe NetBackup also supports object-based storage. So some tools do. I know Haiku for sure is a much modern tool that will support it natively. But regardless of that, backups is the best use case, in my opinion, for object-based storage, just because it is S3 compatible, right? So S3 compatible means you can enable that retention policy natively into the file system, as I said, and force the file system to retain backups for X number of years or months or whatever your retention policy is for compliance reasons. That, to me, is the perfect use case for object-based storage. Warm, if you have seen this concept, that's the key term to remember. Write once, read many. That's the design in the file system. It's natively there. Doesn't matter what credentials an application steals. There's no way to overwrite data in a warm-enabled object-based storage container. And of course, development or DevOps is an important use case, right? I mean, right now, Kubernetes containers are gaining popularity. It's becoming more and more common. Some companies are implementing different development approaches with object-based storage for cloud-based development, or even on-premise. You would need that type of storage. We have, again, great news. We have Kubernetes management built into the Nutanix platform at no additional cost to any customer using Nutanix, using any flavor of our licensing. We have Kubernetes management there at no cost. In addition to that, we have object-based storage, Nutanix Objects, which is the perfect companion for those moving on to the more modern development world of Kubernetes and storage containers. And I covered volumes already because of the question that came up. Thank you very much again for all those great questions. As I said, volumes is the ability for us to be like a SAN, to publish iSCSI storage to any machine, virtual or physical, inside or outside Nutanix. That's a quick summary of it. I'm going to move away of storage services in the last half hour I have. There's so many great tools I can talk about, but I'm going to go very quickly through them just so you can get an idea of what we can do. And that's the purpose of these sessions. You know, when you have an idea of what we can do with COM or volumes or whatever, then you can always call us. As Andel said earlier, call us and tell us, you know what, I want to deep dive into COM or ERA or volumes, and we will do that, and we'll spend an hour or two just talking and showing you one single platform. One single product in action. That's probably the best way to do that. But I want to talk a little bit about COM. COM is an amazing platform. I call it the App Store of the data center. That's my best definition of it, because we all know what a smartphone is. We all use a smartphone, whether it's an iOS Apple device or an Android with Google Play. Both phones, in my opinion, they were useless. Apple was the creator of this concept, right? And then Google came next. But both platforms were totally useless, in my opinion, until they came up with the store. Because think about your smartphone. I mean, we all use modern phones today. We know, we are so used to them that we forgot what they were in the beginning. When Apple released the first iPhone, it was nothing but a calculator with a phone, with a little camera, with a little 3 devices or 4 gadgets in one. That was it. The phone came with predefined apps that allowed you to do certain things like email, calculator, and stuff. What else? It couldn't do anything else, right? It was so limited, but they had the vision. Their real vision was not a smartphone. The real vision was to launch an app store that would sell applications at 99 cents, and every single person on the planet would be buying those apps every day. That's the real goal. That's where the real money maker is. They make billions just from the app stores and Google Play stores. So in my opinion, we got so used to that makes perfect sense to bring that experience to a data center. So if you want the idea of clicking one icon and deploying that application that behind the scenes is super complicated, because it creates virtual machines, it creates data repositories, it runs scripts just to give me that app up and running. But that one-click experience to deploy any complex application exists in the mobile phone world, but it didn't exist in the data center. Now it does. That's COM. Nutanix COM is our app store in the data center that allows you to provision any application, multi or single VM, with any OS, any level of integration needed in any cloud and on-premise, of course. So basically, with COM, you go from this traditional process of somebody makes a request, that somebody creates a ticket or sends an email to request a database or an app or whatever they want, right? That user wants something. The request goes to the OS team, to the virtual machine team who creates the VM, installs the Windows or Linux OS. Then the database team creates a second machine with a database instance that will be part of this multi-tier application. Then back to the OS team who creates a web server application to front end this app. Then the network team allocates IP addresses and all that stuff. This process here that I have on the screen, I know it sounds familiar to you because we have all seen it. Usually it takes weeks. Maybe smaller organizations can do this in days, but typically it's a matter of weeks, even months I've seen. So we can convert that into a simple one-click experience. When your user opens a request, that person could be a non-technical individual who opens a ticket and says, I want an Oracle cluster or an Exchange cluster with multiple nodes and this size of memory, whatever. All they have to do is say, this is what I want, click on it. And then the marketplace gives you access to the options, and everything then happens automatically. The creation of the machines, provisioning, installing OS, installing the software, allocating IPs, and then correct networks. All that happens magically. All that happens is that person knows the application is ready for him or her to use right away. It is that simple. And again, the marketplace experience or app store experience is right there for you. You can publish your own homemade applications or any commercial application in your own marketplace for people to self-service and request any of those applications. You are in charge of the permissions, you are in charge of quotas and segmenting workloads, you are still in charge. You are just letting users request those applications themselves. Talking about self-service, Era is an amazing product. It's so powerful that we would definitely need a separate session, at least a 2 or 3 hour session, just to talk and show you Era in action. But Era is an amazing product that goes very well hand by hand with Calm. It is not a requirement to have Calm and Era together. Just want to make that clear. Calm, as I said, Calm is my full automation application lifecycle management, right? That's what it is. Any app and any cloud and on-premise, of course, that's Calm. But Era, similar in terms of, it's a self-service portal too, to provision, but it is specialized on databases. Era is a database lifecycle automation tool. Amazing tool, unique to Nutanix. That's one of my favorite things to say about it, because Era is unique. There's nothing like that in the market today. And Era allows you to take database administration to the next level, where you, even me, I am not a DBA. I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't know how to provision an Oracle RAC cluster, for example. I will have to follow a lot of manuals and guides to do it myself. I've done enough with SQL and MySQL and MariaDB and Postgres. I've done a few implementations myself, but Oracle, honestly, I've never installed it in my life. Right? I know enough about it, but I haven't installed it. So now, even me, I could deploy a complex Oracle RAC in a couple of mouse clicks. That is the power of Era. Era automates every step of the database management, lifecycle management, every single step from provisioning the VMs, even in a cluster environment, provisioning the VMs, installing the software, follow the best practices published by Nutanix and, I don't know, Oracle or Microsoft or whoever the database manufacturer is. Give me a catalog of database instances. So I can say, you know what, I want a single instance SQL Server version 2019. I want a medium size, which means X amount of memory and CPUs. Boom, click, and it will create it for me. It is that simple. And I know some of these things sound a little bit crazy to believe, but it is true. That's what it is. So today, Era supports very popular engines like MySQL, Postgres, Oracle SQL Server. We have a very strong partnership with Postgres. We even have a authorization for from Postgres to support their product directly from the Nutanix support centers. So Oracle, SQL, all certified. MySQL, of course. Even SAP HANA, SAP HANA is fully supported in Era now. Amazing news, because SAP doesn't certify platforms easily. So we have been, for a long time, a favorite platform for SAP HANA. So provisioning, cloning. Imagine cloning a 10 terabytes database using 0 bytes. Having 10 clones of my production environment every morning or every week at 10 a.m. for my developers to use without me having to click any single button at all. And not consuming that storage, because we handle the cloning at the file system level. So we have pointers in the file system that allows us to clone with 0 bytes. So you save a lot of money and space, because you are not creating full clones. You don't have to export the database, wait hours for that export to complete, then import it to a different development machine. That takes forever, and it's so manual. So cloning, refreshing the database. That development environment could be automatically refreshed every morning at 8 o'clock with the latest data from production, all done at the database level. And one of my favorite features is the recovering. We took this one step further to give you a time machine experience for databases as well. How powerful is that? Forget about backups, forget about replication. I can take any database back in time to any point in time you want, down to the minute or second. Doesn't matter when you want it. Of course, with data, with transaction level integrity. That's really powerful and very important. I'm not doing this at the VM level. I'm doing it at the database transaction level. So pick a day in the calendar, select one of those days and say, I want my database to go back in time here. Amazing tool, amazing backup and reality backup resource for databases when a production ERP database got I don't know, corrupted or something happened. I can just roll it back in time, and I can roll it back in time in place in the same database, or mount it as a new database in an existing or new SQL Server machine or Oracle, whichever the engine is. So amazing tools. Honestly, Era is a deal breaker. I really call it one of those really true innovative tools. I know Andel is a big fan of Era. I don't know if you wanna add anything about Era here, Andel, that I'm missing. But go ahead.
Definitely, Gustavo. I think for most customers, this, along with files, along with the different storage services, are definitely the ones that they should be looking at and saying, why am I actually looking at anything else? Because if I can get complete database management, complete database lifecycle management, and not only that, but most companies have this dev and test environment going on. And one of the biggest problems they have with it is that, one, in their traditional environment, it takes up a lot of space. And two, they have this issue there where they have to refresh their test and dev databases every now and then. Plus, they have to mask the data or anonymize the data. All of that is built into the Era platform. And last but not least, patch management and actually patching the databases. That is also part of Era. So that is why I love this product so much, because whether you're running SQL Server, you're running Oracle, MySQL, most customers are not running SAP HANA in Jamaica right now. But I mean, if you choose to, there's nothing that you can't do in terms of database lifecycle management and actually taking care of all the various database needs. So DBAs would say, well, maybe you're taking away my work. No, we're making your work easier so you can deliver for the business and deal with other things.
Question.
Yes.
If say I have a database server,
yes.
Could I
I think we lost the gentleman who was asking the question. Andel, I think there's some background noise on your side.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Say I have a database server. Could I create a clone of a particular time frame?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Pick your date in the time machine window and say, I want a new instance from this date, from this point in time. It is, I think Andel and I share the same passion because we understand the complexity behind doing this. Just Andel mentioned one of my favorite ones, patching. You know how crazy patching a database instances. They have to run so many, DBAs have to spend days and weeks validating and testing. We do all that for them. So they can focus on tuning, on defining policies, securing applications, improving performance of the database queries. That's what the DBAs really want to focus their time on. And instead, they spend 80% of the time provisioning and cloning. So answer to your question again, yes, I can clone from any point in time in the history. So no problems there at all. And it could be cloned from a previous version to a new version, even better. How about cloning from a 2016 database to a 2019 instance, or from a single instance to a clustered version? All those crazy conversions from cloud to on-premise could be done with Era.
Anything you think of that you have done with databases, whether it be Oracle or SQL Server, this product actually does it, with a few clicks. So this is one of the products where if you're thinking about you're refreshing your data center, modernizing your data center, and you're saying, what are the things that gives the most problems? Then this would be at the top of your list. How do you manage database lifecycle? And of course, files, meaning how do you deal with file management? Yes, some of us have moved to the cloud, but how do we deal with file management and file serving on premise? That is definitely big as well. Okay.
Great. So I'm going to move on to another one of my favorite products in the portfolio, Nutanix Flow. Why is it one of my favorites? Because again, it's so simple to manage such a complex task, which is security. I know security is at the top of our minds in this year. 2021 is a special year because of everything we learned last year. So from pandemics to cyber attacks, the massive SolarWinds attack, and all those things that happened, I think we learned a few lessons here and there. So I believe this year we are all thinking about security, and it's definitely at the top of our priority list. So Flow is our answer to security and microsegmentation. Great news, it is there, built into our hypervisor. Nothing to install or configure separately. There's nothing to, I mean, I've seen products, microsegmentation is not new, we know that, but implementing one of those products in the market is being a challenge. You need consultants, you need engineers, you need a lot of people working for weeks. Some companies will not even give you a POC of that product because it's so complex to deploy. They know they can't. They want to sell it and then worry about it later once they sell you months of professional services. So Flow is our simplified approach to microsegmentation and security. I see a webcam here, the participant list. I see Andres Galaxy's phone he's probably walking with the phone. Just FYI, your camera is on. So Flow, why Flow? Let's start there. Why Flow? Why securing or why microsegmentation? I have an amazing image that I wanted to share with you today. I couldn't wait to share this one with you. Because we learned from the pandemic that things changed, right? This is how we used to travel. This is us on a plane. I wish I had a picture of Willie and I on a plane because we spent so many hours on planes together, but I couldn't get one of those pictures. But this were us, having fun, talking to people, waving to each other. In other words, there was trust. Everybody trusted each other. Everybody was happy next to each other. There was perimeter, there was perimeter protection outside of a plane. There were sensors, engines, safety devices to protect us. But inside the plane, everybody was happy together. Unfortunately, that has changed, right? So now, unfortunately, the idea is nobody should trust anyone. We should take care of each other. We should protect, isolate from each other. So zero trust is my concept that I'm sharing with you today. Zero trust is a principle that applies not only to passengers on a plane today, sadly, because we learned this from a very sad situation, which is the pandemic, but in IT makes perfect sense. It's not that sad anymore. In IT, the idea of not trusting anything should be your basic pillar for security. That changes how we design applications and how we implement applications. But I can assure you, if I do an audit right now in many environments of all of us here in this call, I will find that almost none of us are implementing zero trust security. Zero trust means nobody talks to each other unless I open specific channels of communication. A web server, only if it's production, should only be allowed to talk to SQL servers in that same category and specific ports and specific subnets only. That's it. Nobody else should talk to a database server. Why another database server should talk to other database server? There should not be a reason unless they are clustered. Rules like that, based on zero trust, change the way we do things and implement things. I could spend hours talking about zero trust and Flow. Of course, I don't have the time, but guess what? I plan to show it live to you today. So we will spend a few minutes on Flow. But the idea is stop thinking about the perimeter only. Stop thinking that everyone inside is fine, safe and sound, while I just protect from the outside. Because the reality is just one single attack that infects a device inside my network, it will be enough to cause a lot of damage. So security, yes, secure the perimeter. Yes, protect outside. Of course, we have to. We still need that firewall. But let's move away from the old static firewall rules that say IP address 1 does not talk to IP address 2. That's old-fashioned, especially because IPs change. There was a question earlier, remember, what about subnetting and IP changes? Yes, in today's world, a machine moves from A to B. And that IP will change. The MAC address may change too. We should have freedom to move any machine anywhere it goes, to the cloud, back on premise, from A to B, from site A to site disaster recovery. You should have the freedom to move anything around and have security policies follow that application instead of just protecting with static rules. So again, we go from trusting the inside and just protecting against the outside to a zero trust model where nobody talks to each other unless you admins, you engineers decide there should be a line of communication between this device and this device here on specific ports and specific protocols. That's the key to zero trust. And again, great news is we already did the homework for you. We created Nutanix Flow, which is microsegmentation, super simplified. And again, we will touch on it today. We'll see it in action, allowing you to create those security policies based on simple tags or categories or labels that follow the machine anywhere it goes. Extremely powerful. And I highly recommend it, of course, for security reasons. I'm pretty sure everybody will agree that this is definitely the way to go. And there's three layers of security, right? And again, good news is in Nutanix, we cover them all. First of all, I shouldn't say all because the perimeter is still going to be secured by a firewall of your choice, right? So we start with the perimeter, right? We want to have some firewall outside of your network, which is going to be there, and you know all the vendors that are leaders in this space. We know there's going to be a firewall. That firewall is there to protect you from the outside. Awesome. That's great news. Inside your infrastructure, then we at Nutanix, we handle all the two other sides of the story. We have microsegmentation, level 3 or 4 microsegmentation, which allows basically only necessary communications, as I said before, between machines, between subnets, between applications. We go down to the application level if you want. And if you want, in addition to that, the traffic analysis or packet analysis with threat detection, we also integrate with some of those security partners so they can add their devices or virtual appliances to Nutanix, run it on our hypervisor, integrate with Flow, so they could do the packet inspection if you want to take the security to the next level. But even without that, in Nutanix, we do forensic analysis, we do traffic visualization. So if you have a machine that is infected and you want to put it in quarantine, but not turn it off, because turn it off, yes, it solves the security breach, but doesn't help you analyze what was trying to do. So what if I put it in quarantine mode where the machine still thinks it's alive, it's connected to the network, and you can get reports and visual dashboards showing you what that machine is trying to do, which domains is it trying to talk to. That is forensic analysis, and it is very powerful and even required in legal situations, because if you get attacked, you need all the evidence you can get for authorities and for yourself also to recover from that attack. So Nutanix is going to help you on 3 sides of the security. I don't have that slide. I thought I had after this one. 3 sides of the story. 1, we will help you to prevent, right? We will secure with zero trust using Flow. We will protect your backups with object storage. Remember objects, immutable storage, uncorruptible storage? That's prevention. Objects for backups, Flow for zero trust, that's all prevention. When it happens, we will help you detect. Prevention, check. Detect means I have intelligence in the software that allows you to understand if a file server has been compromised, detects it as an abnormal behavior, and notifies you and takes an action. That's detection. We do that at many levels in the platform. We do it in files, and we do it across the platform. Plus, the platform itself is pre-hardened, pre-secured before we leave the factory, so it's even better there. That's why the government institutions, armed forces, air forces all around the world are trusting their infrastructure to Nutanix. We are the most secure platform out there today. So prevent, check, detect, check. We have several tools to detect an attack as an abnormal behavior. And then after, if you got attacked, if you got infected for some reason, we have all the recovery tools, such as our time machine mechanisms to roll back a database, roll back a file server, or fail over to a different location using a point in time prior to the attack. All those tools are there for you. available in Nutanix. Again, one platform and the same centralized console that I've been talking about all day today. Any comments there?
I think
Good.
one of the things, Gustavo, that I hope our audience is realizing is that for you to get all that you just spoke about, that's a whole lot of add-on third-party tools that you'd have to purchase just in order to get that functionality. Yep. And you know, that's where the Nutanix value is, in that you get the best in hyperconvergence, and then you get these additional products that you can purchase for your different use cases.
That is a very good point, Andel. Thank you. I mean, yes, to do everything I've been talking about today, you would need so many different tools. The cost would be huge, but not only that, it's the complexity. Let's leave the cost aside. The complexity of managing and knowing and mastering all those tools is, like I said, I have friends of mine in different companies. Some of them are competitors to us, right? But we are friends. We talk all the time. And they even admit that they don't want to get into a POC of their products because they know how painful it's going to be to get it working. And they are not even sure if the customer is going to buy, and they have to spend 3 weeks trying to get the product to work, right? So they don't want POCs. They just want to sell it and maybe fight with it later. So yeah, some complexity is a big disadvantage there. So we've covered a lot, and I'm approaching my time limit. I'm trying to catch
Gustavo,
up.
what
Yeah.
what I'm going to suggest is that we go through to 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And then we cut it there, because since there seems to be, you know, questions that come up, and again, I'm encouraging everyone, please ask the questions, send them in the chat. We're watching the chat. So we have another 15-20 minutes at the most, and then we'll start you know, the boot camp thereafter, if that sounds okay to you, Gustavo.
Sounds great, and that's exactly what I had planned. So I want to spend 10 more minutes on one of the products, do a quick recap, and then open for 10 minutes of questions. I would love to hear more questions from the audience. It's been great to have that level of interaction. Thank you. So we've covered a lot, and I'm going to go back to one of my slides just to refresh your memory in terms of what we have covered so far. Let me go here. This is the slide I'm looking for. So look at this. We have touched on ERA. We covered Leap, which is, there's two versions of Leap. We talked about Leap, the automated DR runbook. This came from one of the questions in the audience. That was great, right? Leap allows you to automate disaster recovery, network changes, what I keep calling the disaster recovery runbook. We covered Carbon. I mentioned Carbon, Kubernetes management built into the technology, into Nutanix. We covered volumes, right? For ISCSI storage for any machine inside or outside Nutanix. We covered objects for uncorruptible, unmutable storage, ideal case for backup storage, long-term retention and compliance purposes, but also for Kubernetes and DevOps developing of projects, right? We touched on Flow. We covered Flow, how it provides microsegmentation natively built into the hypervisor without installing any third-party tools in a very simplified way, giving you that much desired zero trust, which I think, again, zero trust more than a functionality is a mentality, it's a way of deploying. I encourage you all to start deploying applications using a zero trust model from the beginning. Once it becomes a philosophy, that becomes the way to operate, and everybody gets used to it, and it provides a lot more security. So that was Flow. We started the conversation today with PRISM Pro, right? We talked about PRISM Pro and how it automates operations by providing machine learning and intelligence, detecting abnormal behaviors. It's very important to understand what an intelligent operation is and a non-intelligent operation is. A non-intelligent operation to me is, oh, this machine is running a 60% CPU. That's a threshold. That's a traditional monitoring tool behavior, right? If it's above 70%, send an alert. We are all so tired of those tools. And most of us, admit it or not, we set a filter in our Outlook to send those alerts somewhere else, right? I don't want to see them in my inbox because there are so many of them. Those non-intelligent operations are useless, in my opinion. I want software that knows and learns from the machine behavior, knows what is normal or not, and tell me when the machine is doing something abnormal. For example, a database machine is running some end of day processes at 8 p.m., around 8 p.m. So load goes up during a couple of hours usually. Machine learning means it learns that behavior, it knows when it's normal, and it says, you know what? It went from 50% to 90%, but it's 2 hours every night. I know it does that. That's normal. I'm not going to alert you for that. I will alert you when something truly abnormal happens. And by the way, I will give you recommendations on how to remediate that abnormal behavior. That's PRISM Pro. We also talked about files, right? File server, next generation, with analytics and visibility into your data. As I called it, data about your data. Files is amazing. Full auditing for compliance and legal situations. Full time machine rollback of the file server. For full replication from site to site, so you can bring up your file server to any other location, all natively built into the platform without the need of that traditional Windows OS underneath. We also covered COM.
Sorry to interrupt you here. There's a question from Colin. He wants to know if there's a way to recover from file level using a snapshot of VM.
Absolutely. We provide file level granularity. In fact, you can allow your users to self-service restore their own files if you don't want to be involved into those restores processes. It's up to you if you want to do it yourself as an IT administrator, or if you want to give the users the power to restore their own files. But yes, we provide file level granularity. That is correct. And last, not least.
Okay, one last question here.
Yeah.
What does Nutanix not do that is in the pipeline for addressing? I hope you understand. That's coming from Jay. And
that's
also,
a good question. I love it. Yeah.
And Kamal wants to know, where do you see the Nutanix platform in 10 years? So if you want to go to Jay's thing about the pipeline, what does Nutanix not do that is in the pipeline for addressing?
I love that. That's when all of us, we put on our visionary hats, right? And try to predict where Nutanix is going. And I'm gonna obviously ask Gondel to pitch in here, and anybody else in the audience can throw your thoughts. I'm gonna start first. Where I think Nutanix doesn't do yet, that is already almost there, is the true any cloud operations, right? Nutanix is truly betting on multi-cloud operations. We want to be the OS of every cloud. When I say every cloud, I'm talking about your data center too, because your data center is a private cloud, right? So it is your cloud. We started there in the private cloud. We extended our OS, our platform, to other clouds, such as Amazon, for example. We are very powerful on Amazon. But right now, you cannot run yet Nutanix everywhere, any cloud, any Amazon, any Azure. We have connectors to Azure. We can store backups in Azure. We can run virtual desktops on Google Cloud. We can run Nutanix on Amazon. But the true 100% any cloud is not there yet. That's what the company is working on right now. So my vision is, in the next 5 years, we will become that true orchestrator of any cloud, making the dream come true of anything, anywhere. That's my opinion.
And for me, Gustavo, definitely that is one of the things that I know that Nutanix is working on, being multi-cloud. The other piece is being able to fully automate most of the actions that an administrator actually does on a daily basis. You have XPlay, and they have gone quite a distance in terms of automating a lot of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis. But I think in the next 5 years, it's going to be truly autopilot. I mean, a lot of our customers today, they install the Nutanix platform, and if you ask them, with a government or private sector, they say, we install it on and we don't look at it because it takes care of itself. But I think what is going to happen in the near future, whether it be a disaster recovery event, whether it be a ransomware event, and so forth, you'll be able to fully automate using machine language and AI to actually get those things done without worrying about it. So it will just report to you and tell you, within the next 5 years, I did this because this happened. That's the sort of intelligence that I expect in the next 5 years.
I agree with you, Ondel. And I don't know if I was with you when we went to visit a customer. I believe it was in Kingston, where we showed up to say hi. It was just a courtesy visit, right? To say hi. And our customer who bought Nutanix 2 years earlier, he said, I want to show you my console, but I don't even remember my admin password.
Yes.
We were together, right?
Yes, we were.
I smiled because that simple fact tells you that that organization has been running for a long time on Nutanix. And if they don't even know the admin password, that means it's been an autopilot since then. They don't have to mess with it. It just runs and it hasn't given any problems at all. They don't even have to log in.
Gustavo,
I agree with you. Yes.
I think one of our clients said it's a set it and forget it. I think that's how he had described it.
And we will show a testimony of one of our customers in Jamaica describing their experience. And I think that is correct. Yes. Yeah. I like the term invisible infrastructure becomes invisible. Or as you said, Anne-Marie, set it and forget it. I like the term that Ondel used, autopilot. I am an IT professional. I am not more valuable. And please, I hope you share this thought with me. I am not more valuable because I do LUNs, I fix volumes, I create machines, I delete machines, I assign resources, and I keep looking at metrics. I'm not valuable because of that. There's software that can do that much better than I do.
Questions are coming in. Sorry to interrupt you here, but the questions are coming in hard and fast. With all of this automation, where does the technical knowledge of the IT specialist comes in? It seems the administrator's role is diminished. We knew we were going to get this one, didn't we, Gustavo?
Of course. Sounds like they are getting rid of me, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you, I think the best way to answer this one, and of course I'm going to ask Ondel as well, I'm going to answer this one based on my own experience, because that was me. I was again in charge of 3 data centers, 3,000 VMs across 3 different locations. It was a very complex environment. When I moved to Nutanix, I believe my career changed, my life changed. First of all, because my quality of life was higher. I was able to spend nights and weekends at home with my family instead of in the data center. I hated being in the data center on weekends every time something happened. You get an alert, you don't trust the infrastructure, you have to run there or send somebody there. That's our IT reality. A lot of people are so used to it that they consider it normal. Well, I'm sorry, but it is not normal. We shouldn't have to be there, and nobody should call me when I'm on vacation. So having infrastructure that is self-healing, self-tolerant, and knows how to react to situations makes my life easier, makes me more valuable, because now my resume has new lines that describe me as a specialist on hyper converged technology and modern technologies, which makes me again more attractive to companies when I'm looking for a new job or something. But I'm still in charge of providing the software and the platform with the policies. I'm creating those security policies. I'm the one defining what a threshold is or what an anomaly is. I'm the one deciding as a DBA, for example, what a best practice for Oracle partitioning is. I'm still in charge of all that. My value is working and focusing on those policies and tuning applications, the applications that where the real value to the organization is, and not maintaining infrastructure. That's my thought there.
And I would add to that, Gustavo. I think the executive management in Jamaica has really warped what IT should be about. Quite a bit of the executives, whether it be the C-level suite, if an IT person isn't in a break fix mode where they are at the office, until midnight and on weekends and working overtime, then IT is not being done. If they're not fixing a machine, then IT is not being done. But I think over the last 5 years, they have now realized that without information technology and the solutions that it brings to their business, they have no business. I mean, quite a bit of companies have been Amazoned. Quite a bit of companies have been Netflixed. And they now realize the importance of information technology to the strategy and the performance of their business. And I'm hoping that that shift will actually now change the mindset of the information technology professionals to be more strategic and to offer more value to the business. Your value to the business is not in maintaining hardware. Your value to the business is not having to spend your weekends upgrading a platform or watch a tape backup being performed and changing tapes. That's not the value to the business. The value to your business is actually to put the systems in place so that at a moment's notice, your enterprise, your company can be agile and move towards where the customer demand is. So with that in mind, I would have to say that as an IT professional, no, we are not here to replace the IT professional. We are here to advance it to the next stage of your career, which is being a part of the business and actually being a part of its performance and profitability and all of that. So it's a transition, and that is something that you should look at. Nobody comes today to say, you know, I need to get training in the hypervisor that runs in Amazon or Azure. Nobody does that today. It's a given. It's something that is just there. Nobody says I need to be a storage administrator for Amazon or Azure. So the same thing should happen within your enterprise. And it's a multi-cloud skills that you should be developing today. It's the skills around microsegmentation that you should be understanding. And of course, how to deploy the different technologies for your business so that it can be successful. So that's the viewpoint.
Okay, if I might jump in here, there's another question from Nadine. I too share the thought that if the IT person is always visible, something is wrong with the network. So I welcome the value-added approach. Okay, that was just a comment, but Roshane says, is there anything in the pipeline that will look to expand Nutanix's file server capabilities to manage or integrate with Microsoft OneDrive or SharePoint?
We already support a SharePoint and OneDrive in our VDI as a service platform. That's the last product I haven't really talked about today. We already support that, and we pass it through as like a My Documents folder to any of our virtual desktops in a transparent way. But Nutanix Files itself is designed to be that on-premise file server. We believe there's no point in us trying to come up with another OneDrive. It doesn't make sense. Those products are amazing as they are. SharePoint is amazing. OneDrive is great. Dropbox is amazing. All those are great. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's already a good solution out there, we will leave it as it is. But we map it. We leverage connection to those platforms to pass it through in a transparent way to users in our virtual desktop platform. But in order to address your question, on-premise, we are targeting the traditional file server on-premise, which could be a Windows machine or machines, or a more expensive NAS devices. There's so many NAS devices that are super expensive and complex to manage. That's what Nutanix is replacing with files. The expensive NAS or the inefficient Windows machine sharing folders on-premise, and of course, replicated to remote sites. But no, we don't plan to replace OneDrives or anything like that. It's like us trying to come up with an Office 365 platform. It wouldn't make sense, right?
So Gustavo, let us quickly talk about Frame. I mean, another one of my favorites in terms of VDI and desktop as a service.
Yeah, great. So in fact, if you look at my map here on the screen, that's one of the only products I really haven't touched on. As you can see, we touched on everything. The gray area is all the hyper convergence, and then we mentioned each one of the other products, almost all of them. So I'm impressed we did that in such a little time. But the last one here in the map is Frame, right? XI Frame is our virtual desktop as a service offering, natively designed to be multi-cloud, natively designed to be sold as, as a service, as a multi-tenant, and our customers can enjoy from a 5 users VDI platform or a 5,000 users VDI platform without any restrictions or limitations in scaling that VDI platform. The big difference in Frame is we took away all the complexity. we know VDI. VDI is nothing new. There's great solutions out there. One of my favorites, for example, is Citrix, right? VMware has Horizon, both great products. By the way, both work amazingly well on Nutanix. Citrix always says that Nutanix is their favorite platform for VDI. But if you want something that looks more like desktop as a service, something I can deploy in one day and give my users a simplified Windows desktop, or even better, like a Chromebook-like experience where all you see is icons and like a mobile application, and to allow you to do work from anywhere in a secure way with an amazing user experience, simplified, even better than a traditional Windows desktop, but it is still a Windows desktop if you want, of course, and move away from the traditional complex deployment. That's a key differentiator. This diagram I have on the screen is a traditional VDI deployment from one of the leader companies in the world, which with so many components, right? You have brokers, you have proxies, you have gateways, you have so many little things. Again, complex project to deploy. In the Nutanix world, HCI Frame is a simple cloud platform. We run desktops on your Nutanix on-premise or any public cloud. In this case, any public cloud is true. We can run desktops in any cloud. And all my users need is a browser, an HTML5 browser, to access their virtual desktop. The result experience is very simple. Like I said, it could be a Chromebook experience like the one I have here on the screen, where you just click on an icon from your web browser and launch Word or Excel or whichever your favorite application is. Any Windows or Linux application can run on Frame, just like any VDI app. We support the features that you would like multi-monitor and USB pass-through for some devices, and copy-paste and download, upload. All those things that you expect are there. The big difference is super simplified. We can deploy your VDI technology, especially in this pandemic era. We can deploy it in one day, on-premise, in the cloud, or both, and change your model, your licensing model, month by month or year by year. You can go from 100 to 1,000 down to 10. You are in charge. That's something that didn't exist before. Amazing platform, super flexible. And another good news I have for you today is HCI virtual desktops is exactly what we will be using today to connect to the data center and the Nutanix data center for our bootcamp section. That's my quick summary of HCI.
Yes. Hi, this is Garth Beckford from Spectrum Management Authority.
Hey, Garth.
All right. So what I would like to know, since we have VMware here, and we would like to maybe set up Nutanix at a different site. I know that you speak about it, but what really is the procedure I would take in order to just implement it? Say I need to do this within the next 3 months. How would I start?
So just to understand you correctly, you have VMware and do you want to replace your production site with newer technology, or would you like Nutanix to begin just in the DR site?
To be a part of the DR site. And in the future, after weighing both options, then I would think of seamlessly converting fully to the newer platform. But for now, I would just want to have it as a DR site.
Okay. I think we addressed a similar question earlier. So of course, the easiest way is to have Nutanix on both sides. It doesn't matter what a hypervisor is, honestly. I mean, the hypervisor to us, it's irrelevant. We don't care about the hypervisor. You can use AHV. AHV, remember, is Acropolis hypervisor. So let's forget about it. Let's forget about VMware. It doesn't matter what the hypervisor is. Today, we are still the only platform that gives you that true cross hypervisor capabilities. But if you have Nutanix here, I'm sorry, I was trying to draw a circle. If you have Nutanix here and Nutanix there, that is automatically transparent to you. In your case, you're telling me, no, I don't have Nutanix in both places. I will not have it. My VMware vSphere is already good here. That's existing. I'm not going to change it, but I want a DR site powered by Nutanix. In that case, I would use definitely VMware here. I would not use Acropolis. I would use VMware there. That way you have true VMware to VMware replication using an existing VMware tool or VMware supported tool like Zerto or Site Recovery Manager, or Veeam, any of your favorite VMware replication tools. There's so many of them, right? So that's the way, by the way, that's the way many of our customers start with Nutanix, because they have budget, maybe not for production, but they have a budget for a DR plan or a DR site. So you put your first Nutanix there, use it to replicate and protect your VMware workloads, VMware to VMware. Of course, you put VMware on it. At the same time, you start getting familiar with PRISM and how it can manage your workloads and how it can do a lot of other things for you, running new, maybe production workloads on that Nutanix cluster. And then just simply switch, right? When you realize how much more powerful it is, how faster it is on your production side, then you bring the DR side back to production, and then you get a new Nutanix cluster for DR. That would be my approach there. Many of our customers do this. But yes, you will have to use VMware on both sides, even if it's on Nutanix, which again is totally supported. We support every hypervisor. That's our true agnostic principle.
For most of our customers, Gustavo, they have a traditional server and SAN legacy setup. So what we have found is that even though they may have budget for DR, what they do is to say, okay, how do I modernize my data center, and then see how is it that I incorporate my existing legacy technology into that modernization. And what they actually do is actually they purchase a cluster, and we migrate from their legacy infrastructure onto Nutanix, and then we move the legacy infrastructure to the DR. And the reason being is this. Usually there's usually some issue with the legacy infrastructure, whether it be performance, whether it be the ability to do upgrades, whatever it is that is affecting them to be more operationally efficient. They actually say, let us replace or migrate our workloads to Nutanix and then move our current platform to DR, because DR is something that you use when there's a disaster recovery, but your primary data center is something that is used, I would say, 90% of the time. So that's a strategy that we have seen our customers embark upon when they get Nutanix. But as you said, they could do it the other way around. But I'm just saying, from our experience, we have seen it where it's where they put the more performant technology in production.
Yeah, it's also a financial decision, right? If your budget comes from DR, you may think you're forced to use it, but sometimes if we are creative together, we present the solution to your executives, you use that budget, but in reality, it's better to get the new hardware, the new cluster for production, and move everything you had to DR. We will make it happen, we will make it transparent, but having the more powerful platform in production would make more sense. But if you're forced to do it and put it in the DR, we will do so, and when you are ready, we will switch it, or we will even convert from VMware to Acropolis.
I think what's important to note is that these things don't just happen. This comes from a dialogue, and as Under likes to call it, a whiteboard session with the customer. So we really understand your domain and your challenges, so we can present the best approach to take.
That is correct. And there's some more questions here on the chat window. There's one from Sean Gomez. Do you have Nutanix certifications available? Absolutely, yes. We have a full Nutanix University. We have a lot of trainings. Obviously, it's a simple platform to manage, but it's so powerful that yes, training is highly recommended. We have a lot of free training. For all our customers to get access to the university at no cost. We have more advanced certifications such as the NCP, Nutanix Certified Professional, all the way to Nutanix Certified Platform Expert. I mean, there's levels. There's all kinds of instructor-led, virtual, in person, whatever you need. Everything is available to you and highly recommended for sure.
Another question. I know, like for VMware and other vendors, you have to be a part of a certified training program before you can sit the exam. Is this the same with Nutanix?
No, I mean, we have obviously all the trainings needed for you to prepare for any certification exam. Some of the exams do not need any, special certification title. You just pass it and that's it. But if you want the official Nutanix Certified Professional badge, that requires passing a test, which it could be virtual, as I said. And it's up to you if you want to take a special training before or not. And you don't have to pay that fortune. Maybe that's what you are alluding to. You don't have to pay that fortune for that training. Training is totally up to you. Take it online or not. When you're ready to take the test, most of the times you maybe pay a small fee for the test, and sometimes it's even free of charge for you. But then you pass the test and you're set to go. I'm not saying it's easy. Trust me, it's not easy to pass.
It's not easy. Not easy. But it's the courses. Once you become a customer, the actual training is available online. You can take instructor-led courses, which carry the usual cost, but it's not, and those costs are really not like what you're used to. Because I remember, for most courses, it will be, several $1,000s per person. For Nutanix, it's definitely not up in that ballpark, because they want to ensure that these newer technologies that a company and its employees can actually afford it. So therefore, quite affordable. The exam fees are quite nominal. Most of the time, it's below $100 per exam fee. Sometimes it's like $50, and quite a bit of the times you can get a voucher that gives you, you can take the exam free of charge. So Nutanix really does a very good job in terms of its education. So definitely it's something that you should look at getting. And somebody asked if it's worth it. Of course it's worth it. When you talk about, it's right up there with any of the cloud certifications, because this is cloud on-prem. And then you talk about Azure certification or AWS. This is up there with it, and you can check it out online in terms of what it's worth, but it's one of the highest valued certifications out there.
I remember 20 years ago, my VCP, VMware Certified Professional, when the first time I got it, that was the most valuable certification in the industry, right? You were like God with that. Then I moved on to the advanced VMware certification and whatever, but I think that's equivalent now. Now, like Andel said, hyper-converged platforms, Nutanix, and cloud operations, those are the key, most valuable certifications today in the industry.
Yeah.
VCP is too expensive, man.
Yeah, that's a problem.
You have to pay for the certified training before you can do the exam, or it's not valid.
You will not have that problem here.
And those training courses are like 4,000 US.
Yep. Right. So you don't have that problem with Nutanix.
And we don't want to do that. I mean, we want to make it hard. I will be honest, it is not easy to pass this exam. I've seen people who tried so many times. It is not easy. We will never make it easy, but we will definitely keep it affordable.
Yeah.
Okay.